Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Marilyn Shannon, and this is Breaking Free, and we're glad to have you all here with us today. And it is a splendid day in the neighborhood, and I hope it's splendid where you are as well. We have a really interesting show ahead, and I want to welcome Amnon, who is our producer. Say hello. Thank you very much. How you doing?
Hello, thank you very much. How you doing?
How was your week?
Oh, so far so good.
So far so good.
Absolutely.
Me too. Good.
Yeah, busy.
Busy? Good. That's good, right?
Absolutely.
I like to say when I'm busy, because it doesn't always sound so good, I like to say I'm full and rich. So we're full and rich today. And before we get started with our guests, I want to just show you a video, a quick little video. My guest is Karen Gaffney, and her dad, Jim, will be on. She's an extraordinary woman. She just won an honorary doctorate degree. She has swam the English Channel. Oh, you're in store for some major, major inspiration. So hold on to your heart, because it's going to beat away. So with that, Amnon, would you show the video? Okay.
On Karen Gaffney of Portland, Oregon. The world knows and esteems Karen Gaffney, the famous swimmer, conqueror of water and weather. Along with the people around the world, we salute the courage and willpower of a young woman who refused to be told what she could not do in every arena, from the classroom to the English Channel. But today, we celebrate and sing Karen Gaffney's even greater accomplishment. No one in our time has been as eloquent and articulate in word and deed about what men, women, and children with Down syndrome can do. No one has shown so bravely and inarguably that any cultural bias about Down syndrome is wrong and unjust. With deep admiration for her flinty willpower, with reverence for her adamant courage, and with immense respect for the way she has insisted on the holiness and limitless possibility of every life from the breath of the Creator, the University of Portland humbly presents Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa, on Karen Gaffney of Portland, Oregon.
It is with great pleasure that I introduce Karen Gaffney and her dad, Jim. Welcome to the show. It's nice to have you here, and I want to just say how honored I am to finally have this opportunity to sit back and enjoy you and your story. And you define for me what breaking free is. And because breaking free is all about doing anything we want to do and not letting anybody tell us we can't. So welcome, Karen. Welcome, Jim.
Thanks for having us, Marilyn.
It's a pleasure. So, Karen, and besides, you have such a beautiful smile. So, you've done so many things in your life. I know you swam the English Channel. We're going to go into some detail. Lake Tahoe, I know about that. The honorary doctorate degree. So, what inspires you every day?
Just getting motivation to get up every morning and swim my 2 miles. And just getting exercise every day really helps me to be more alert and more active every day.
So, and you're a motivational speaker now, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so, what is it about? What are you speaking about mainly?
I talk to a wide range of audiences, like to students. I talk about friendships and acceptance. To doctors, I talk about my medical issues, about my swims, and to new parents, I give them hope and encouragement along the way. They have a child with a disability, and to show light on so many people with Down syndrome.
So anybody can do what you're doing.
Yeah.
Pretty much, right? That's what you
Yeah.
believe. You're out there showing what you're doing and saying, "Look, if I can do it, you can do it."
Exactly. Yes.
Right? So, Jim, welcome.
Marilyn.
So
Marilyn, good morning.
you're a proud papa, I know.
I am.
So what is it about your daughter that just tickles you so much?
I mean, she's doing things they said that she wouldn't be able to do. They said in the beginning that we would be lucky if Karen was able to do some of the things that we can do. And as her story is unfolded, she does some things that you and I aren't able to do. I was never a distance swimmer. I did swimming growing up. I was lifeguard, that kind of thing, but I was never able to do distance swimming. And I was memorization, for example, is another great skill of hers. It's a lost art, and no one you just don't see people that memorize things the way that we used to when we were in school, and then to stand up in front of large audiences and to be able to give talks without ever having to look at the notes, or in the beginning she didn't even keep her notes up there with her. And so she's doing some things that you and I can't do, not because we couldn't if we wanted to, but because she works so hard and is so determined to make use of the talents that she does have.
I think that's really important, is to be able to
Hey, Jim, can you guys lower the speaker on your end? It's probably blaring, right?
It sounds good to us, but let me...
See if you can lower it some, because it's feeding back into the microphone. So just on the lower right where you have the volume, just lower it a little bit.
This isn't my laptop, and it's different than... Sorry.
That's all right. We're all patient. Everybody out there is patient, right?
Volume control. It's too high.
Okay, we good now?
No.
No, not yet.
Okay, so we're going to get that. Here comes Mom to the rescue.
You keep talking.
Here we come, Mom to the rescue. See, this is a family affair, which I think is also extraordinary, is the fact that you have... When you have support from people that you love, that makes a big difference.
Better now?
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, let's talk. Yeah, that's perfect. So so you're talking about all the things that Karen can do that amaze you. And I want to ask Karen, so I know your dad mentioned something about your memorization and your skills. How do you do that?
Sorry, 1 second. Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yeah, your dad mentioned something about how well you can memorize things. What is...
Well, I use a process called chunking, and I do a paragraph at a time. So I learn the first paragraph, see if I can read through it to kind of know what the contents are, and then if I try to say it over and over again, I turn it over and try to say it before I go into the next paragraph.
Ah, so what is that called again?
It's a process called chunking.
Perfect. Okay. And
One paragraph at a time.
One paragraph at a time. And you get to know the paragraph. Are you memorizing the paragraph, or you just get to know the paragraph so well that you can say pretty much what's in it?
I try to know the paragraph well enough to turn it over and try to say it.
Uh-huh. That's great. Well, one of the things I observed in watching you speak is some of watching the people in the audience watching you and having an experience with you, because of the fact that many of them have young babies that have Down syndrome, and you have given so many of them so much hope with their young children and their young babies.
Right. I try to encourage parents to give them hope that their child with Down syndrome or other disabilities will shine for them, and it's their precious gift in life. Mm-hmm. Don't ever give up on your child. They're your precious gift. Mm-hmm. And always think the positives, never negative.
Right. So you've taken the dis out of ability.
You've taken the dis out of ability.
Right, definitely.
So you're all about ability.
Right, all about ability.
So isn't that everybody check that out for a second. Isn't that what it's all about for all of us anyway? Sometimes we focus too much on what we can't do, the dissing part, as opposed to the ability part. And Karen, what she does is she recognizes her ability and beyond, and plays to her ability and beyond. And she has just completely taken out the word diss, which is a great lesson, isn't it, Karen?
Yeah.
So Jim, when Karen was born, and you recognized that she had Down syndrome, what was that like for you, and what did you and your wife do?
Well, for me personally, I didn't even know what Down syndrome was, and so I really didn't have any preconceived notions of it. Barb and I'm the oldest of 7 children. Barb's the third of 11. We both felt like we'd already raised a family before we started our own, and so we just dealt with Karen as an infant, and then as an adolescent, and just dealt with the situation and did the things that we had learned with our younger brothers and sisters. So we weren't so focused on the end as we were just with the immediate needs, and did what came naturally to us. We just raised our child.
So you raised your child. You didn't focus on the dis part.
No, I mean, in the very beginning, a lot of the features of Down syndrome present themselves later on. I mean, it was very clear that she had Down syndrome at the beginning, but when you're on a bottle and napping and those kinds of things, it's not very different at all. There's really little or no difference. And so, we just raised our child, and then Karen has a brother that's 2 years younger. We raised our children.
Wow. I want to suggest to everybody out there, if you would like to call in, you want to ask a question, you're curious about something, please feel free to do that. We'd love to have you. We're inviting you to do that. 919-518-9773. Or if you're somewhere and you'd like to, Skype with us, you can do that as well. At computers, that's plural, 2, that's the number 2, K, voice. Because we'd love to hear from all of you. I mean, many of you have different experiences that you might like to share, or questions. Maybe, you have somebody with Down syndrome and you'd like to ask some questions to Karen. I know that she's here and she'd be more than happy to engage with any one of you. And if you're listening to us and you're not signed into our chat, please do that. To the right of our pictures, you'll see a little line, and you can put your name in there and then just say okay, and you'll be part of the chat, and you can write your comments in there if you like, and ask us questions. We'd love to hear from you. So Karen, you talk a lot about inclusion. What does that mean to you?
Inclusion means including all people with disabilities. Inclusion for people with all abilities.
All together.
Right.
So what does that teach when we include everybody together? What does that teach us?
It means feeling more accepted and more involving everyone with a disability.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I would agree with that. I think we all learn from each other. I mean, we learn skills from each other. I mean, you have extraordinary skills, as your dad is saying, that I would love to learn from. And I have skills that you could learn from. And then the humanity part. I mean, when we take people out of living together and separating people from each other, I mean, we're not learning how to live together. And I think that's so very, very important. What about our teachers in our schools? Are they being taught? Are they being taught how to teach in an inclusion?
Yeah, they help. They really helped me by giving me extra material to study for next week's assignments. I spent 5 hours a night doing homework with Mom. And I was really dedicated back then in high school.
So they were very helpful to you.
Yeah.
And they did support you, and they did take the time to, maybe, they knew that you had certain needs, and so they helped to figure that out and help to, help you with that.
Right. I also had a teacher's aide in my class who would sit in the classes with me and help me take notes. And when I was spending time taking notes and sending them home, I tried so I can keep up for the next week's assignments.
Mm-hmm. So were you always included in regular classes?
Yes.
Always. So you never were in a special ed class?
Not special ed, all included in classes.
And how was your social life growing up?
I have a great social life. I have a lot of friends with Down syndrome and other disabilities, and I used to belong to a theater group called Fame Academy, and they do a lot of Broadway musicals all over, and I used to love being a part of that.
Oh, so you like to act, sing? What do you like to do?
Just anything.
Of course you do. Of course you do. Of course you do.
Yeah.
You like everything.
Definitely.
So you can sing too?
Yes.
Only in the shower.
In the
okay,
pool.
so in the where?
In the pool as well.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Okay, great.
We can hear her singing in the shower in the morning.
Uh-huh. Well, I think it's really, those types of things are great, especially to help you when you want to be out there and on stage. Taking those kinds of courses are really good preparation for you to be out there. And, because when you're, as a motivational speaker, you have to have some drama to you, some expression to you. So I think that's been a very good choice on your part. Plus, it's fun, I'm sure.
There isn't a major musical that Karen doesn't know every actor and actress and supporting actor and actress, every song of the set. She's a romantic, an incurable romantic.
Is she really? So Karen, what do you do? What's your job? Is your job this, or do you have another job?
Well, I work part-time on Tuesdays and Thursdays at the Edwards Center here in Portland. And this center, serves clients with intellectual disabilities. And they do a lot of fun activities that they have planned for them.
So that's what you do. And then your big thing is your foundation and getting around and being a voice.
I'm sorry, what was that last part?
So your big thing is your foundation, and then getting around and being a voice, right?
Voice of people with disabilities, yes.
For disability, for acceptance, for people who may not. So what do you have? You have something that some people just don't have. What is that?
I have an extra chromosome that other people don't have, and that's why I go around giving these talks to show that we are more like everyone else than we are different. Don't judge us any differently.
And when did you realize that you were this person? When did you realize, or how did you realize that you were this person who could be a voice for other people? How did you realize that?
I think growing up, I realized that I want to be a speaker, a motivational speaker, to show what is possible for everyone with a disability.
Mm-hmm. So you must
and I always want to advocate for that.
So you must have seen a lot of things growing up that you liked and some things that you didn't like. Yeah, and you just and you're the one to make the difference.
Definitely.
So what's it like in the water for you? What do you
in the water?
What do you
What's
like so much about the water? About swimming and being in the water?
I love being in the water. I always loved doing those long distance swims I've done in the past. Because my dad got me into swimming since I was 9 months old. And I've been swimming ever since. And I know what it's like to do these swims. Mm-hmm. And to show awareness about people with disabilities, what they can do, not what they can't do.
Right. Exactly. Well, that's why we're here, because we want to show people what's possible. I mean, we have to stretch. Sometimes we have to stretch out of our fear. It's not just the physicalness; it's the fear that holds people back, and you don't have that fear. So you were telling me earlier that today you swam 2 miles, right? And you do that every day.
Every day.
Every day, and then you also do strength, lifting weights and all of that kind of stuff, right? To help your body.
Yeah.
And you have swam the English Channel in a relay.
Yes. Alcatraz 16 times.
Alcatraz 16 times?
Yes.
Wow.
Lake Tahoe, 9 miles straight across the width of it. Lake Champlain I did twice. Dunleary Harbor in Dublin, Ireland. Donner Lake and Detroit Lake.
And so swimming the English Channel, Lake Tahoe, and all these other lakes, why do you do that?
I do that just to stay physically fit and exercise that I need every day.
And I know that, I think it's inspiration as well. I think the more attraction the more news in a good way that you make for yourself in doing good things, the more attention you place on who you are and your voice.
Yeah.
I think that's extraordinary. That I would want to see the entire lake filled with cameras so that people would see, because otherwise your voice won't be heard as much. So the more things that you do, and I know you do them from your heart, the more things that you do to draw attention to yourself, the better it is.
Right.
So what's next for you? Like, what is something else that you've maybe always wanted to do, or you're thinking about doing now that you haven't done yet? Is there anything?
Well, I forgot to mention, I swam Hawaii this last December, from Molokini to Alea, and it's one thing I want to try again. And I definitely want to go back and do Lake Champlain again as well.
How far was swimming in Hawaii? How many miles?
Hawaii was about 5 miles swim.
5. And Lake Champlain, How long was that?
Lake Champlain is about 8.5 miles.
So were there particular challenges in swimming in Hawaii?
The only thing was, it was a really boring swim, and I really enjoyed doing that. But I don't think there are any challenges out there except for the length of time it took me to get from Molokini to Alea.
So it's just magnificent.
Right.
And what about Lake Champlain? Is there anything unusual about swimming there?
Well, my second attempt across Lake Champlain was a lot harder because of the weather conditions and the rougher the water was the second time I did it.
That's great. Yeah, I watched your face when you got done in Lake Tahoe in that video.
Right.
And so what were you? Do you remember what you were thinking when you got done with swimming Lake Tahoe and you came out of the water? What were you thinking?
I really felt great after Lake Tahoe. I was really stiff after that swim. I had pacers in the water swimming with me, and that really helped me too. So I got to talk to them when I was swimming, like on breaks and everything. And, it just really felt good to me.
And how far was that?
That was 6.5 hours.
6.5 hours.
Sorry. That was 9 miles straight across Lake Tahoe.
9 miles. And how long does it take you to swim 9 miles?
That was 6.5 hours.
6.5 hours. And you took breaks. So to arrange for something like that, what do you have to do? I mean, to get the pacer and to get all that going, what is entailed in that?
Well, I had to increase my my swimming and increase my weightlifting, and we went over a few weeks early to get acclimated to the cold water so I can train every day.
Okay, and then what else? What about getting the camera people out there? Are they just waiting for you to take your next swim? Are they always ready for you?
Right. We had someone on this Will Skimmerhorn from Virginia came out and spent a whole week with us and helped me train and took shots of me and interviewed me about the swim.
Mm-hmm. That's good.
Most of our swims aren't recorded. We did have photographers for the channel relay, and then Will Skirmhorn, who has done a lot of educational videos for Down syndrome. This was his first documentary, and on his own he came out and spent actually 3 weeks with us in Portland, and then he traveled with us to Tahoe and was there for all of the time. It was really an act of love for him, and he trained. He did a lot of the photography underwater. He was up in a helicopter getting the geographic perspective and landscape. He really put his heart and soul into it, and we're lucky to have that accounting of what Karen did at Tahoe.
Mm. Yeah. Well, it's nice to have those kinds of friends and people who support your mission and what you're trying, because you can say it better than anybody, Karen. Yeah. You can say what I say better than I can say it. You know, you can say what I feel better than I can say it. You know, right. you know, the universe is a funny universe, and you and I, we feel the same way about some things. But the thing is, people, I mean, you've got this gift, and people are going to listen to you. And the more you can share that gift, the better everybody can feel. You know, the better we all can feel and get along. You're kind of like the bridge to unification of all people in some ways, because everybody's got something. You know, right. Everybody's got something. I mean, I can trip and fall. I can't remember this. I can't do that. I mean, we all can look back at all the things that we do. I'm sure there's a million people out there, and, you know, we all are something. But you know, people will listen to you. People are watching you. That's one of the things about you that's so splendid, is that, you know, you have this, you look like you're just having the best time as well. You're happy with who you are, and that makes a big difference too. You are happy with yourself, aren't you? You are, aren't you? You're happy with you. You like what you're accomplishing, don't
Definitely.
you? Definitely. So, like, who is your mentor?
I want to say my parents are my mentors. You know, they really fought hard for me to stay fully included in a regular classroom setting, and they just really stuck out there for me.
Yeah, I mean, that must make you feel great, Jim. I see that little smile coming across your face.
Yeah.
It does.
No, one of the most noticeable things about Karen is her self-esteem, her poise, her confidence, and it's a result of the full inclusion, which is something we couldn't teach at home. The only place for that was in the classroom during that window of her life. Barb had some experience as an educator, and so our objective was to teach her the 3 R's at home. We could do that, and it was a lot of work. And but we wanted Karen in the regular classroom, because that's the only way that you can learn how to live in the so-called normal population. We can't teach those things at home. Learning how to survive, building up your self-esteem, and those kinds of things. Those you can't build those off-site. And so, and then her success with school, her success in the pool and in open water, all those things, and her success in front of a microphone. Mm-hmm. And so the most noticeable thing that we hear about from people who are seeing Karen for the first time, and then even the ones who come back 10, 15 years later, It's the poise, the self-esteem, those types of intangibles.
And it comes off. I mean, it's so noticeable. I saw Karen take the pulpit, take the stage in something that you were getting ready to do, Karen, and the way you carried yourself, the way you stood up there and you were like, you took it on, you threw your head back and you had this look to you, and it was stunning. You're welcome. So I want to talk to you a little bit about your health and what you do. I mean, we know that you do all these things for your emotional well-being. And Debbie, one of our very dear friends and our homeopath, is asking, what have you taken for your for special health measures at home and in general? What do you do for your health?
For one, I exercise every day, for one, and I try to eat healthy, like turkey and cheese, light yogurts every day. We try to do like fish for dinner at night or chicken, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. And so, what are do you have any limitations health-wise?
I'm sorry?
What limitations do you have health-wise?
What limitations?
Health-wise, taking vitamins every day, and
What limitations?
Yeah.
She doesn't see limitations. I'll have to, I think we have. Do we have a call? Okay, we have a caller. Debbie's on the phone. Debbie, hello. Debbie, you there? Okay, maybe she has to call back.
So there are a lot of classic health issues for people with Down syndrome. Karen never had the heart, for example. She never had the gastrointestinal. She does have the dislocating hips, and those have been a major issue for her over her life. And it's why we started the swimming, was to just help strengthen her body and to counterbalance the effect of the bad hips. She's never been able to run. She walks with a bad limp. We did over half a dozen surgeries where she'd be in a full body cast, and it made the right leg a little better. They made the left leg worse, and so her toe points out at 90 degrees from where it should, and so she walks straight-legged and those types of things. But there's no meds that Karen is on. The swimming has done more than what we expected. It not only helped strengthen her body, but it the routine exercise helped increase her aptitude for learning through K through 12 and later on and that. So her health is good. We worry about additional surgery. Something will have to be done to the left leg eventually. She's in pain from that, but she's not on any pain meds. We've experimented with some things and finally just left it alone. But at some point, she'll need to get that left leg fixed. But other than that, there aren't any real health issues.
So, Karen, you have pain that you just deal with.
I'm sorry?
You have pain that you just are able to deal with.
Yeah, sometimes when I swim, I can feel it.
You can feel
but
it.
But sometimes I can't really admit it.
Uh-huh. So what do you do with the pain?
Sometimes I just have to deal with it.
How do you deal with it?
Exercising every day on my legs, and that really increases the physical aspect of it.
Mm-hmm. But you just deal with it. You just,
right.
Uh-huh.
She doesn't like to talk about it because she doesn't want more surgery. So she swallows the pain, and it's that's not ideal, but it's part of the mental toughness that she has.
Yes, she has a big mental toughness and a heart toughness.
We think it also has something to do with her success on the long swims, is that there's just a mental toughness about her dealing with the types of things. The big open water swimmers say that the open water swimming is at least half mental and only half physical. And our experience with Karen in the open water is that that's really borne itself out.
So good to hear. All right, we have a caller, so hold on just a second. Debbie, you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Well, I'm just listening in total amazement and awe in the strength and the support of the family to bring you up to this level of accomplishment. And I'm hearing lots of different things, like right now about leg pain, and that is from congenital pain rather than pain from swimming. The swimming is actually helping your muscles. Am I hearing that correctly?
That the swimming is helping your muscles?
Yes.
Okay. So your pain is not cramps or something from swimming, it's more from birth. From
Right.
from the surgeries that you've had, or something else?
I think it's basically from the surgeries.
Okay, so you're dealing with pain from surgeries, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, dislocating hips are when they don't seed all the way into the hip. So the femur never turned at the angle that they need, so it rides on the edge of the socket. And that's been corrected a little bit, again, in the right leg more than the left. But you basically, after you go through the cartilage, you have bone on bone. And Karen's very near that in the left hip. And so as long as she can deal with it, we'll leave it alone. But at some point, we know we're going to have to do something to fix it, probably with an artificial hip socket.
And despite that, you're able to swim. That's totally amazing. So I also heard you say something about eating chicken and yogurt. Are there any kind of protocols or groups of other people who are dealing with the same kinds of problems that you are and have found ways to support their entire body?
I would assume so.
Like, what do you?
You've not.
What do you? Be more specific, Debbie. What do you mean?
Specifically, I'm sure that there must be other people who are dealing with similar things in their family, and they have found either supplements or a certain diet or other things that could support them with their bone structure, let's say, to develop, or, to lengthen life for longevity and brain power and things like that.
Do you get into any of that, Karen, Jim? Do you? Is that anything part of what you talk about?
No. I mean, there's probably some of that that others have concerned themselves with. It's not something that we've really had to worry about. You're looking at someone who's never dieted a day in his life. I've been fortunate with my health and metabolism and all that. Karen's been on a diet from day one, and we did it, for a long time. The conventional wisdom on Down syndrome was that they tended towards obesity. Well, a lot of that is because we institutionalized them for their lives, and we don't know what they were really capable of. So, but we worried about her diet, and as it turned out, that was a good thing because her hips wouldn't support a lot of weight. And so we've continued to do that, and the exercise has helped, and the diet has helped, and all that. But we're really not. We've just focused really on Karen's situation. We're not really aware of other situations.
Right. So it sounds like you're really going it alone. You're really paving a new pathway for other people to follow in terms of emphasizing the physicality and building up. Because the more physical exercise you do, the more oxygen you're going to bring to the brain and bring to the cells, and it's really going to be, that's your mode of action to develop yourself. It's marvelous.
Yeah, I think Karen's is the new textbook, right, Karen?
Right.
You're the new textbook.
And just tell me a little bit about where you speak as a motivational speaker, and what is your message?
I speak all over nationwide. Like states and also out of country, like Belize, Singapore, Malaysia. I was just in Trinidad and Tobago this last March. France, about England 4 times, Dublin, Ireland. Did a conference there.
Amazing.
And Debbie, early on, Karen was saying that she can speak to she really can speak to any group about inclusion. She can. I mean, she's got a big job ahead of her because she's not just speaking. I mean, she's speaking to the parents who have children with Down. She's speaking to people with Down. She's speaking to doctors because what was and what they thought what was, it isn't because Karen's like, talking about the way it really is. So she can be talking to anybody about anything. So she has a universal message. Is that right? Did I say that correctly?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Good.
And her message is primarily just to tell her own story.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are other situations like Karen. They're all different, but there's a whole group of people like Karen that have been successful in their lives that happen to have the Down syndrome, and it's all new data because this is the first generation of people with her condition that weren't wholesale institutionalized at birth. So we're finding out all kinds of things as we go along. And so Karen's primary mission is just to tell her own story and to keep making as much of her life as she can.
Right, to live her life and to talk about it. See, that's where we're the same. Because I want to live my life and I want to talk about it. Even if I make mistakes or lessons, as I call them, I feel like I'm the experiment. But we have to do that, don't we, Karen? More people have to be out there living their life and talking about it.
I'm sorry?
I said more people have to be like you, out there living their life and talking about it. Because our personal stories are what people need to hear. Right?
Right, definitely.
Okay, we have another caller. Hold on. Hello?
Hi, Marilyn. This is Kelly.
Hey, Kelly. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. So, talk to us, Kelly.
Okay. Hi, Karen and Jim. How are you?
Do you know?
Hello, Kelly.
Do you know Karen and Jim?
No. Do you know what? Karen, it's such a pleasure to see you.
Okay, Kelly, can you walk away from your computer so we can hear you better? Yeah, oops. And then hold on one second.
Better?
Yeah, hold on one second. Debbie, if you're still there.
I'm here.
Okay, thank you. I didn't want to dismiss you. Just hold on. Thank you. Kelly.
Do you want me to hold on?
You can if you like. Kelly.
Sure. Is this better now?
Yeah, talk up a little bit louder if you can.
Okay.
Okay, great.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. So did you have a question or comments or?
Yeah. Yes. The question that I have is, Karen, you've done such a remarkable job in your athleticism and your speaking, and what I would like to know is, did you encounter any resistance when you first started swimming in the community with other athletes, or how did you kind of break into it?
Did you run into any resistance from other athletes when you first started swimming?
I don't believe so.
Karen started so early on the swimming. She was 4 or 5 when we started. That it was actually the reverse. That the swimming was something that could break the ice, that could help her be more accepted by her peers, where they might ignore her in the day-to-day when they would see her in the water on vacation at a pool, whatever it might be. They were attracted to her. They could tell that she was stronger in the water than they were, and it was actually a huge plus for her.
That's pretty smart.
Wonderful.
That's pretty smart, isn't it?
We didn't.
Absolutely.
None of this was scripted. None of this was thought out much beyond just the day to day. But it was very fortunate. It worked. The swimming, for what we thought in the beginning turned out to be geometrically favorable for Karen.
Kelly, are you Kelly from Facebook that I've spoken to?
Yes.
With your daughter, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Thank you so much. Tell them a little bit about your story.
Well, my daughter is 13. Her name is Ari, and she has cerebral palsy. And so we started running together. I actually push her in an adaptive running chair, and we do endurance racing. So Ari had always wanted to run with myself and her older brother and sister, and we finally were able to make that happen about a year ago. And so she just fell in love with running, and so we've been running quite a bit over the past year. And we're doing, Ari turned 13 in April, so now we're running 13 half marathons to celebrate her 13th birthday this year.
And you push her while you're running.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I push her in an adaptive running chair.
Is she listening to the show now, Kelly?
She is, yes, and I apologize that my technology is on my phone here. It seems to be a little difficult. I'm sorry.
No. I'm so glad you called in. Hold on one second. So, Karen, I saw something that Kelly wrote about her and her daughter, and she's running with her daughter. As she said, she has cerebral palsy. And I invited her to call in today because I knew that you would be such an inspiration for her and her daughter that I wanted you all to connect. So I'm so delighted that Kelly took the opportunity because you are such an inspiration, and here she is. So I just want to thank her so much for doing that. Yay, Kelly.
Oh,
Kelly, what's your daughter's name?
Jim is asking.
Her name's Ari.
Ari. Yeah.
Keep running.
Keep running. So, is Ari verbal?
Yes, she is verbal. Yes,
she is. And is she there too now?
She is. Yes.
Would she like to say anything?
Is there anything that you wanted to ask Karen on? No, what breakfast she has. She wants to know what breakfast you like to eat before you swim, Karen.
What kind of breakfast do you eat before you swim?
Usually it's cereal or eggs that have protein in it.
Did you hear that, Kelly?
It's the breakfast of champions.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, so let me ask you, Kelly, what inspires you? What would you share as a parent that's inspirational for you?
I think, all the challenges that Ariana, conquers actually, and the challenges that Karen has overcome is inspiring to me. It motivates me to do things. It motivates me to push myself further because I know that these girls and women, we tend to take for granted sometimes what the abilities are that we have, and Karen, in Karen's life, she doesn't take that for granted, and neither does Ari. So it's inspiring to me.
You're so right because, and I think we touched upon it earlier, but I think you just said it so much better. We take things for granted, and whether it's our gifts we take for granted, but we don't take our disabilities for granted because we all look at the things that we can't do. And we focus more on that than what our abilities are. And I think after today, I would like to say for myself, after hearing you and a little bit from Ari, but I hope I get to hear from Ari again because I'd love to have you come on more. And certainly Karen and Jim. Yeah, I think I'm going to focus more on my abilities and look for them. We have to look for them to see them sometimes, wouldn't you say?
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Jim, you agree we have to look for our abilities?
Well, and that's what people with so-called disabilities do more naturally than the rest of us. I don't mean to generalize, but people with disabilities who embrace life and who really accept it and want to make the most out of it, they develop the talents that they do have. They overdevelop them. They take them beyond what you or I do. Even though we could do the same thing with those talents, we don't have to, so we don't. They do it to be as good as they can be, and they compensate for the so-called disabilities that they have, and they do it naturally. That's what's so inspiring about them.
Right. I mean, even I know that if you're blind, then your hearing is going to be like super duper charged up hearing. You tend to do that. So if people can do that, then we can do that.
I went to high school with a young man who was blind, and he could see as well as any of us. He just saw differently. He saw with touch. He saw with hearing. He developed his mind beyond what the rest of us did. He could keep track of who was in the room by the sound of the shuffle of their feet, by the aftershave they were wearing, those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. They overdevelop other talents that they have to compensate for what they don't have.
Right. Hold on, Kelly, okay? Are you in a hurry to get off?
Oh, no, I'm okay.
Okay, good. Karen, what would you like to say about the things that we're talking about?
I'm sorry,
from some of the things that we're talking about now, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
Just my main message, just to encourage a lot of people to do the very best they can. Mm-hmm. And, to stick to the positives. Mm-hmm. And just try to be yourself every day.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Do you have a favorite quote, Karen?
I do. It's from Margaret Mead. We can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has.
So can you repeat that one more time?
We can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Tell her who the quote's from again.
The quote is from Margaret Mead. I used that in my talk last Friday in Denver.
Uh-huh. I think just about that moment, I figured you had this wonderful quote that was going to be fitting for that particular second. So that's great. Yeah. Kelly, you still there?
Yes.
So Ari, is she in school or is she homeschooled?
She will be an 8th grader in junior high this year.
Mm-hmm. And she goes to school?
Yes, she does. Unlike Karen, she's not fully included. She has participated in special education programs, learning handicap programs. So I think it's wonderful, Karen, that you were able to complete your education fully included. And your parents, I commend them for doing all that they did to ensure that for you. I wish more children were able to have a fully included education. I think we're still behind the 8 ball on that in many states and different locations.
Is it different outside? I mean, in the United States, is it different than it is in Europe or Asia or anywhere? Is it different, Karen?
Is inclusion better in some countries than others?
I would believe so, yes.
Oh, really? So it's better in other countries than it is here, as far as inclusion?
One of the other countries I was at, like I mentioned before, Belize. There's a young boy named Zachary who's included in his school, and he has Down syndrome too. And he has friends as well.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So I guess we have a lot of work to do, and we have to do a lot of things to get Karen out there to speak about these things.
But the United States has been one of the leading countries, of course, in inclusion. It's just it's spotty, and it's also a little bit misleading because the labels are used, and so it's claimed in a lot of places where when you peel the onion back, it's really not full inclusion as we would like to see it. And so unfortunately, the labels mean a lot of different things in different places, even within different pockets here nationally. But the United States has embraced it in large part. We're one of the leaders in the world in terms of what we've done. Other countries have come here to try to study what we have done. A lot of the talks that Karen's given around the world have been because of that. They're curious and they want to know her story because it is a full inclusion success story. But there's still a long way to go. There's a long way to go.
I taught special ed for a year, about 10 years ago, and it was the absolute worst year of my entire life. And what I disliked so intensely about the process was, number one, the IEPs. That whole process with those individual education programs, many of you may not know about it, but if you have a child who's been identified with special needs and they have to have this IEP program, it's about 100 pages long. How you ever can follow it is beyond me, but I think the issue mainly is a lot of people are scared. They're scared of the kids. They don't know what to do. And, they're afraid to try something new. They're afraid to not stick to the book. They're afraid of lawsuits. We've gotten so afraid of things that we've missed the golden opportunity to educate and to inspire and to, help our kids creative problem solve. I mean, we've got to put them in those boxes. So, we do have some work to do.
The IEPs are a good idea. Unfortunately, they become a distraction. They can become a distraction. And so much effort gets put into those on minutia that everyone's exhausted by the time that it's done, and then there's no follow-through.
Right.
I think they should be shorter. They should be focused on a few things. They should be revisited more frequently, and they should mean something when you're done. They should be the map for what's going to happen in the next term or semester, during that school year.
Right. Yeah, I know, and we have some work to do on that, and it's a lot of work for the parents. I want to ask Karen, a couple of people are asking some questions, so before we end, I want to know, they want to know, do you drive a car?
I do not, no.
Okay.
And my parents drive me back and forth.
Your parents take you back and forth?
Yeah,
okay.
Between both of them, they do.
They're your chauffeurs?
Yes, we are.
That's good. They're good chauffeurs, I know. And then we want to know what your most favorite place in the world is that you visited.
I want to say Trinidad and Tobago.
Uh-huh.
I had a lot of fun there. I got to meet the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, and I really had a fun time. Just advocating there.
Well, you are someone who is honored and will be honored all around the world.
Thanks.
And Kelly, I know that you're doing everything with your daughter that anybody can possibly do, and she too will have some great messages to share, and I know she is already.
Oh, thank you so much for your thoughtful and kind words. That means a great deal to us.
Well, thank you. And what you're doing means a great deal to all of us. And I'm going to connect with you, and maybe you and Ari will come on.
We would love to do that. Thank you so much for the invitation and the opportunity.
Well, you're welcome. What thrills me, and I know what thrills our listeners, watchers, talkers, and chatters, is the fact that, the four of you and, there's many more of you out there, you're not sitting here complaining. You're sitting here talking about the positive things and the things that you're accomplishing. You're not sitting here. I mean, I try to ask Karen questions about things, about, like digging some things out that might not be too, positive. She can't even answer those questions because that's not how she thinks. Karen, you don't think about negative things. You think only about the positive things. And I want to say how much I honor all of you for this. And Ari, Kelly, before you go, where can people find you?
We have a Facebook page called Team Ari, A-R-I, and you can find us on Facebook. You can, visit our page, follow our journey as we run this year, and leave us a message if you would like to. We love getting messages and responding to them.
So your message is what?
Our message is that we want to encourage athletes of all abilities to participate in endurance sports, that differently abled people can do this, can run just as good as fully able-bodied people. And Karen is the true example of that in her swimming.
Perfect. Well, Kelly, thank you so much. And you and I are going to chat on Facebook, and we'll come up with a date when you and Ari can be our guests.
Oh, thank you. We would love that. And we look forward to that.
Thank you. I'd love to hear what Ari has to say after this show, too. So thanks so much.
Okay, Mary.
All right, honey.
Guys.
Thanks.
Have a great Monday.
Thanks. You too. And
good luck to you, Kelly and Ari.
Yes, thank you. So, Jim, Karen, where can we, how can we follow you? What would you like? Websites? What kind of support? Tell me.
You can contact me at KarenGaffneyFoundation.com.
Okay, and then you have a Facebook page for that as well, right?
Yes.
Is there anything you want from our listeners to do, or any final messages you want to leave with them?
I just want to leave with the message that that we can do anything that we set our hearts and minds to. Just think positive and try to do the very best that we can.
Right. Perfect. Well, I got the message. Jim, anything from you?
No, Karen said it just right.
Yeah, she does that for sure. Well, she's got it. She's got it down. So I want to thank you all very, very much, the two of you, for joining us. And please thank Barbara for helping to set this up, Karen's mom. It's been an absolute delight and a pleasure to get to know you and to have you here. And Karen, you are really, you really define special.
Thanks for having us, Marilyn.
It's been a pleasure, and I thank everybody out there for sharing this time with us, and we look forward to having you next week for more time. And I'm done. Thank you. Everybody have a wonderful Monday and a great week. Bye.